Here is Colonel. Here is what Tucker Carlson said about Donald Trump prioritizing Netanyahu.
I campaigned for him and I love Trump. I just want to say that. And I talked to him the other day, and I love Trump. And I've known him for 25 years, and I mean, I could write many books on Trump, and they would be positive, basically. But the second he gets elected, who's the first person to visit? Bibi. Then he comes again. Then he comes again. And it's like the energy of the administration and of the entire U.S. government is all of a sudden about Iran. A war with Iran? Really? How many people do you know who've been killed by Iran in the United States in your lifetime? 0, because that's the number. How many people do you know who've died of a drug OD? Some. Maybe you have a nephew who did. So, like, what is this? I know you want to have regime change in Iran. I'm not mad at Israel at all. I'm not actually mad at Israel. I'm mad at our leaders for spending their time and my money focusing on someone else's country. And then I'm doubly mad because that's a total betrayal of the promise, which is your government works for you because you own the government, because it's a democratic republic. Like, what the hell is going on? And then if you say anything about it, it's like, you're a Nazi, you're an anti-Semite. Well, actually, I'm not. And I'm in a really great place to say that because I'm really am not.
Yeah. And he was attacked, Larry, by the way, Carl, by the way, as Larry has mentioned, it was, they're not just attacking him, but they're attacking the movement, this sort of sentiment, this sort of understanding on the part of the Republican, mostly young people, that because this sort of talk resonates with the people who are mostly under the age of 30. That is the main concern, in my opinion, right now with the Israeli government and what they're doing in the United States with the case of the money they're spending, the investment and the parties, even with the case of Zohran Mamdani. That's the whole case.
Yeah, I would put it up to 40. I would say under 40. And it's rapidly building. And I watched a video of Ben Shapiro the other day, and I couldn't believe how evil he was. I mean, he even took on in the video satanic proportions, the way he looked. He's losing it. He's losing it completely. And I think he exemplifies essentially what's happening. They're falling apart. The rabid Zionists, the Christian Zionists, the people all associated with this, what Tucker was saying, giving America away to this state in the eastern end of the Mediterranean. And you know my belief, you know what I think, we're not giving America away to them. We're using them to do our damnedest work in the Levant. But that's coming to an end too, obviously. And where it's going to come to a screeching end is what I'm hearing right now is true. And I've heard it from more than one source, that Bibi's going to, this is it in a nutshell. Bibi's going to take care of Lebanon and Hezbollah, and Donald is expected to take care of Iran because Bibi can't do it all. And that's what they're working on. And this ceasefire, which isn't a ceasefire in Gaza, is essentially a subterfuge, and all the dialogue around it, diplomatic and otherwise, associated with resurrecting the Abraham Accords and so forth, punctured mightily by the foreign minister of Oman at the IISS-sponsored conference in Manama, where he said the number one cause of instability in the region was Israel. Can you believe a foreign minister of the most balanced state in the region, Oman, our good offices state, time and time again, would say that? But what he didn't say was the most powerful, unstable actor in the region, the person causing all the problems, is Israel, backed by the United States, which is what he should have said, because we are the ultimate culprit. But that's being exposed too. And I think we're going to have a real problem if this strategy goes forward against Hezbollah in a significant way and against Iran, with the U.S. being the major belligerent. That's the end, in my view, of our relationship with anybody in the Levant, because there's so much poised against us, not just 90 million Iranians, but also now apparently most of the Arab League and the GCC, and of course Russia and China behind Russia.
Larry, the foreign minister of Iran, Araqchi, he said that they have tried each and every way possible to communicate with the Trump administration, but none of them is working. That's why we have to be prepared for any sort of attack from the United States,
Right.
and to defend ourselves and to respond in a proper manner. And here is Donald Trump, Larry, bragging about that he was in charge of the attack. Donald Trump, the peacemaker, by the way, the so-called peacemaker, he's bragging about how he was in charge of the attack on Iran.
It's a little like Israel. Israel attacked first. That attack was very, very powerful. I was very much in charge of that. When Israel attacked Iran first, that was a great day for Israel, because that attack did more damage than the rest of them put together.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a disgrace. I mean, the narcissism, because I remember, initially he took credit for it, and then he came back and said, "No, I don't know anything about this. This is news to me." And now, oh yeah, I was directing the operation. And Channel 12 in Israel just they did a report about a week ago in which they finally detailed how devastating the Iranian attacks were on Israel's most sensitive military and intelligence sites. Because previously, in fact, that same week, Channel 14 in Israel was putting out this, sunshine report about, oh man, Iran couldn't touch us. Iran sucks. Their weapons are no good. They were just terrible, and we prevailed. And Channel 12 came back and said, nope. Let's go to the videotape. And they had video. They had commentary from senior both military and intelligence officials saying that 4 days into it, the Israeli leaders were shocked at the effectiveness of what Iran was launching. And we now know that Iran didn't even use its most sophisticated missiles in those attacks. So if Trump and Netanyahu are stupid enough, and I can't rule out that, I think they are stupid enough to launch a new attack on Iran, it's going to go very badly for the United States and for Israel. It will they do damage and kill a bunch of Iranians? Sure, but Iran's going to do the kind of damage to Israel that if this happens, I think the very survival of Israel would come into question.
And Nima, at the same time, Larry's telling what he's telling, which is absolutely the case in my view. He's challenging a 240 million country of Nigeria in most belligerent terms, and he's got a battle force mustering off Venezuela.
Today we've learned that they've sent 2 B-52 bombers to the coast, near to the coast of Venezuela, and I think they're gonna do something, because that doesn't make sense. You remember what has happened with the case of Iran. They have been preparing, and we thought that could not happen, but it happened after all. And that is, in my opinion, the main concern right now. In Brazil, the people are so much worried about what would happen with the case of Venezuela. And the communication between the Brazilian government and the Trump administration is just horrible. Nothing is, it's nothing. And it's unbelievable, Carl, how you understand the way that Donald Trump is not communicating with anybody in Latin America and attacking Venezuela, while you're talking about the Christians being somehow suppressed in Nigeria, and all of a sudden he's concerned about Christians, while Christians are getting murdered in Gaza and Palestine.
Well, I didn't even point out, too, that Hegseth has been talking about striking cartels in Mexico with U.S. military power. This is insane. I mean, there's no other word for it. It's insane. I do hope and pray that Donald Trump is just braggadocio, that none of this is going to materialize. But I have seen enough at this point that I realize, as you just indicated with regard to Iran, when we attack them out of diplomacy, right in the middle of diplomacy, that anything's possible with this administration. Anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I cross my fingers and pray. And
Larry,
the fact he's not talking to Lula is that's almost like he would pick up the phone and actually look for help. That's not Donald Trump. That's not Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't need help from anyone.
because the main understanding, Larry, you may join, the main understanding is that the government in Venezuela, they're not afraid of having a better relationship with the United States. They're going to be quite open in, selling oil to the United States.
Right.
And getting some sort of investment from the United States in Venezuela. But what is that? Is that all about oil? If that's the case, the government has no problem with that.
No, it's not just about oil. It really goes back to wanting to be in control of Venezuela. And, for many years, prior to the arrival of Hugo Chavez, the predecessor to Maduro, the very top of the Venezuelan government, including the former president Carlos Andres Perez, they were CIA assets. They were paid CIA assets. So, we had control over it. With the arrival of Chavez, we lost control. And now Maduro, I'm not arguing that Maduro is some sort of George Washington-like character for Venezuela, but he is he's a nationalist, and people say, "Oh, well, he's corrupt." Look, after what we've seen with the Dick Cheneys and the Barack Obamas and the Bill Clintons and the George W. Bush and now Donald Trump, America, clean up your own corruption before you go out around the world lecturing other countries on being corrupt. Okay, Nancy Pelosi, great stock picker she is. So we've the level. America is just steeped in corruption that comes from the people that control the reins of power. And so to that extent, this is more like a dog marking his territory. Just we're go hike our leg on Venezuela and to remind them we're in charge. But what's interesting is, again, Trump and Hegseth, they're not very bright when it comes to these matters because they've deployed this military force, and now it's been out there for at least 10 weeks. It's like those erectile dysfunction ads that, if you take a particular little blue pill and you're still erect after 4 hours, see a doctor. Well, what you've got here is a military force that's been asked to be erect and aroused and ready to go for now 10 weeks, more than 2 months. And you can't maintain that level of alert and then be efficient and be effective. And so you may be right. They're just by virtue of time, they're going to have to decide to pull the trigger because they can't stay there any longer. And if that ends up being the actual issue guiding the decision making, they'll pay a heavy price because Venezuela, it's not as militarily powerful as the United States, and that has lots of disadvantages, but they're still playing on their home court, and they have a variety of weaponry, both Chinese, Iranian, and Russian, that they can use. And the United States is going to find that there are limits to our power.